Hi, Matt Morris here. Welcome back to what I call the 4 great enemies of network marketing. Now, before I get into the information here, I want to give a little bit of a warning. When I say the 4 great enemies, typically an enemy is something that you want to avoid at all costs, that you want to stay away from. And the 4 enemies that I'm about to talk about are something that are totally unavoidable. You are going to have to experience all of these 4 things, and you're going to have to experience them a lot. In fact, sometimes you'll have to experience them in a big way, and I call them enemies because if you don't understand them and you don't really embrace some of them, they will absolutely take you out of the game. You're going to quit. You're going to end up failing and going back to what I call the land of the common man. You're going to live an average, mediocre life if you don't understand these principles. And so let's get into enemy number 1. Enemy number 1 is deception. See, when I got involved in network marketing, my first deception was that it was going to be very easy, that everyone I talked to was going to be as excited as me. And I quickly realized that even though I had never heard of network marketing, pretty much everyone else had. And so I quickly found out I got deceived. It was not as simple as I thought it was going to be. I kind of deceived myself in that case. There's been so many times over the years. In fact, it still happens to me to this very day. I get deceived. You're going to have people who say they're coming to an event. They say they're coming to a business briefing or a hotel presentation. And you know what? They don't show up. They deceive you. You're going to have people who, after they see your presentation, they're going to say, I'm all in. I'm so excited. I'll sign up tomorrow. And you never hear from them again. You're going to have people who actually enroll. They'll enroll on the spot and they'll say, you know what? I get it. You and me, we're going to the promised land together. You're going to get rich because I'm in your organization. And that should be a key. Anytime someone says you're going to get rich because they signed up, you pretty much have some certainty that they're not ever going to do anything. So you're going to get deceived by people like that. You're going to have people who join your team and they actually go out and produce. They actually come to the trainings with you and they go out and they enroll other people and they sell products. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to quit on you and you're going to say, why? You know, I thought this was someone who we were going to go travel around the world together. We were going to get rich together. We were going to become millionaires together. And they quit on you. They are going to deceive you. You're going to have, you know, as things go on and you build a much larger organization, you're going to have leaders within your team who they're actually making money. They're making sometimes significant money. And they even quit on you and they leave. And you know what? It just deceives you. You think, wow, I never in a million years thought someone like that would leave. And you just have to realize when things like that happen, you remember, Matt Morris said deception was going to happen. It is just part of the game. You got to embrace that. And you got to understand it's just part of the reality of network marketing. It's part of the reality of life, really. But let me tell you, the biggest person who will deceive you is you. Your story that you have about how you're not good enough, how you're not smart enough, how you don't have the right personality, maybe you're not a good public speaker, all of those things are lies that you tell yourself to justify your own failure. Do not let yourself deceive you. Don't deceive yourself in thinking that you can't go out and do this. If you have the will to win and you are determined, you will win. The next enemy is the enemy of rejection. And now you are going to get rejected a lot. You're going to get rejected from people that you personally show the business to. You're going to have people in your organization who you help show the business to people in their organization and prospects of theirs, and they reject you. You're going to get rejected like crazy if you're doing what you were supposed to be doing. Now, this is one of the biggest enemies that you have to accept, and you have to accept in a big way. In fact, I would encourage you to learn to love rejection, because in reality, we get paid based on activity. We get paid to go out and show the business. And so if you go show the business to 5 people and 1 signs up, the way that I always look at it is I got paid on all 5. So you might, show the business to someone, they say no, you can say, thanks for the $100. And they'll say, what do you mean $100? And you say, well, the way our plan works out is I get paid $100 whether someone says yes or no. The numbers all work out in the end. So get excited. In fact, if I look at how much money that I've made for every person that has rejected me over the years in network marketing, every no that I've ever gotten has earned me thousands and thousands of dollars. So get excited about the rejection. Now, here's the other thing, is by going through a lot of rejection, it's going to build your character. And if you think about it, if you never have to go through any struggle, what kind of character are you going to have? You're not going to have a very strong character if you've never faced a storm. No one wants to follow a leader who's always had a silver spoon in their mouth. See, to build a really tall building, you got to dig a really deep foundation. We talked about that earlier. There is no testimony without a test. And so here's what you've got to get to, is you've got to say to yourself, my why is stronger than your no. That's what you say mentally. Anytime you get rejected, and if it hurts right now, if you haven't really armed yourself to be bulletproof against rejection, just say to yourself over and over, my why is stronger than their no. You're just going to keep going. It doesn't matter what anyone says about you, about your business, about your product. What matters is your decision to go out and win. Now, the third great enemy is the enemy of dream stealers. And these can be really difficult. This can be really tough because sometimes the dream stealers are some of the people that you love and care about the most. In fact, sometimes they may be even the people that you respect the most. And, it can come from parents, it can come from relatives, it can even come from spouses who see what you're doing, and because they don't understand it, they try and pull you back. In fact, one of the things that I've found, this is amazing but true, is common men love other common men because they justify each other's averageness. And so sometimes you may have people in your life where they see you going out to go accomplish big things, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's different. You're not the same person that they've always known, and so it's uncomfortable for them. They want to pull you back to, the way you've always been, the way they've always known you. And so no matter what someone else says about you or your opportunity or your product, realize that they just haven't seen what you've seen. They haven't understood what you've understood. Now, not everyone is going to understand network marketing. Not everyone is going to love network marketing. Not everyone's going to understand the power of this financial vehicle. And it's kind of like music. If you think about what kind of music you really love, you've got to realize there's other people that don't love that music. Personally, I like all kinds of different music, but I don't really like classical music. I don't really have the patience for classical music. Now, as much as I don't really like classical music, are there people out there who love classical music? I mean, that's their favorite, and they can't imagine why anyone would like country music or rap music or anything else. It's the way we hear things. And if someone else doesn't hear your music, it doesn't mean that it's bad music. It just means that they don't hear it the way that you hear it. So by letting someone else influence you negatively, you are actually being the biggest dream stealer because you have allowed your dream to be taken away from you. You cannot ever allow anyone else to steal your dream. See, you've got a dream inside you, and I know no one can measure your heart. No one can measure your desire. And if that dream is big, you owe it to yourself to keep going, to be determined, to learn the art and science of network marketing so you can make that dream a reality. Number 4, the final of the 4 great enemies is attrition. See, you are going to have people quit your business, and it's going to be on varying levels. When you first get started, you might enroll your first person, or maybe you just enroll a handful of people, and then, everyone quits. All 2 or 3 people that you enrolled, they quit. Things like that happen. It's part of the game. You're going to enroll. You'll get to a certain point. Maybe you've got 30 people on your team, and then it drops down to 25. Again, just part of the game. You will have people quit on you. In fact, last week, as I record this, had over 9,000 people join my team. But you know what? I also had well over 1,000 that quit last week. Now, do I worry about the 1,000 that quit, or do I worry about the ones that came on and stayed. I worry about the ones that came on and the ones that stayed. I don't concern myself with the attrition. See, here's a story that inspired me. Now, I don't have the details. I don't have the facts to back this up. This is a story that I heard years ago. But while starting Amway, Rich DeVos and Jay Van Andel, they became actually, at one point, they were in the top 20 wealthiest people in America. They recruited over 500 people in Amway. And out of those 500, 495 quit. So all $10 billion plus in revenues that Amway generates every single year came from 5 people. So you don't need everyone that you recruit to stick with it. You just need a handful. And if I look at what has made me a millionaire in network marketing, it has not been from the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that I've personally recruited. It's come from just a handful. See, our job, the way I see it, is you've got to sort through the chickens to find the eagles. There are going to be people who quit on you along the way. What you're looking for is you just keep going until you find those eagles. You've got to work through the numbers. Now that we've finished out the 4 great enemies, I want to cover some other things, and I just want to kind of arm you. You may be looking at this going, man, Matt is getting really negative with me right now. And I don't do this to be negative. I'm an amazingly positive guy, but I think I owe it to you to really tell you the truth. I don't want to sugarcoat things for you. The number one reason why people drop out of network marketing is because of false expectations. They expected it to be easy and it wasn't, and so they quit. I want to arm you with the way that it is, and if you understand the way that it is, now you can decide for yourself if you actually have the courage and determination to keep going. And I will tell you with everything in me, it is completely worth it. Now, what's going to take you out of the game, number one, is short-term thinking. Most times, people overestimate what they can do in a short amount of time, but they grossly underestimate what they can do over the course of 10 years. See, when I got involved in network marketing, I thought I'd have 1,000 people on my team in the first year. But I never dreamed I'd build an organization of over 500,000 people all over the world. Never imagined that would be a reality for me. I didn't imagine I'd have multiple homes and multiple cars, be able to travel all around the world. You know, I didn't quite see that vision for myself when I first got started. When I first got started, I was, I'd love to make a lot of money, but man, I needed to pay the bills. So short-term thinking will take you out of the game. If you're looking at this as a short-term sprint, it's going to take you out. You've got to look at this as a marathon. And so here's my philosophy as it comes to this. I look at this as a long-term game. It's a marathon. And so there may be someone that I show the business to, and they're really sharp, but the timing's not right in their life, and that's okay. I may not recruit that person for 5 years. I may not recruit that person for 10 years, but you know what? I'm still going to be in the game. And I have people that call me because I have just remained consistent and persistent. Year after year after year, I have just remained in the game. And what happens to me now is I have people who reach out to me on a very regular basis, some that I showed the business to years ago. In fact, I just personally enrolled someone that I showed the business to about 5 years ago, and it wasn't the right timing in their life, but you know what? They saw me on Facebook and they reached out to me and they said, Matt, the timing is right now. I'm ready. I'm committed. And so look at this as a marathon, not a sprint. Next is easy in, easy out. One of the greatest things about our profession is it's usually only a few $100s, maybe $1,000 or so to get started. One of the worst things about our profession is that it's very inexpensive to get started. See, if you treat it like you only invested a few $100s, you're going to get paid like you only invested a few $100s. See, to make it to the top of your compensation plan, you're going to have to act as if you invested multiple millions of dollars. If I look at my opportunity, I didn't invest a few $100s. Mentally, I invested several $1,000,000. And because I looked at it as a major, major investment, a multi-million-dollar business, I treated it seriously. And so I never treated it like a hobby. That's the third one. If you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. One of the greatest parts about our business is that you can work it on your own time. One of the worst parts about our business is that you can work it on your own time. And because your own time ends up becoming none of the time. See, most people are used to having a job. They're conditioned to have employee thinking, meaning I show up for 40 hours, I get paid for 40 hours. And, because that's how you're conditioned, you look at network marketing, it's like when you first get started, you're investing several hours, but you may not necessarily be getting paid based on several hours. You've got to look at this like you're an entrepreneur. You've got to schedule it in. And if you were to start your own business, let's say you started an ice cream shop. Now, if your ice cream shop, if it was open some of the time, but not open a lot of the time, and people never knew when you were going to be open or not open, would you attract much business? You'd have no steady business because people don't know that you're really open. So it's the same thing with network marketing. You've got to plan out your time. If you've got a full-time job, you better put in your planner. When you get off work, you got to schedule in time for making calls, schedule in time for meetings, schedule in the time for training. You got to treat it like a real business, not like a hobby. Now, another thing that was true for me is you become what you think about most of the time. And so it needs to become part of the fabric of your life. It needs to become part of your thinking. You've got to keep your goals in front of you. You've got to see your goals so you see them all the time. And if you don't have those goals in front of you on a regular basis, you tend to forget about it. For me, I had my goals and my visions and my dreams in front of me all the time so that it consumed my thoughts. It became an obsession for me. It became a passion for me. And because it became such a big priority for me, it ended up becoming a reality. Now, the fourth thing that's going to take you out is being content with a good life. So I'll just tell you, if you're content to sit on your couch every day watching TV, if you're content to simply get by in life, if you're content to leave a legacy of averageness and mediocrity for your family, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to call you a loser, but I will definitely tell you, you are not a winner. You have got to get committed to having a spectacular life, an outstanding life. You got to get committed to being able to leave a legacy. I'm not talking about just a legacy of money. I'm talking about a legacy of principles of success, about being able to carry on love and contribution and the principles that are going to lead your family generations forward to success. And so good is the enemy of great. If you are satisfied with a good life, you will never have a great life. And chances are, wherever you are in your life, you've got something that you're not totally passionate about or you're not totally content with. You want it to be better. And I'll tell you a quick story. It's a farmer, actually, and he's sitting on his wooden patio, his wooden porch, and his neighbor walks up. And as his neighbor's walking up, the neighbor sees the dog that's laying next to the old farmer. And the dog's just howling. He's going, "Arr, arr, arr." And so the neighbor, he says, "Why is your dog howling?" And the old man on his rocking chair, he says, "Oh, he's sitting on a nail." So the neighbor says, "Well, why didn't he just get off the nail?" The old man, he says, "Well, reckon it don't hurt bad enough." So chances are you're sitting on a nail. And it's going to take you getting off the nail. You're going to have to get up off the nail, and you're going to have to start running. You're going to have to do something if you want to live that great life. And number 5 is emotional attachment. There are going to be so many instances of you needing to disassociate yourself emotionally from different situations. It starts with the prospecting process. If you are needy with your prospects, they are so unlikely to join, it's ridiculous. A prospect can smell neediness like a dog smells fear. You've got to disassociate yourself from the results. You've got to stop emotionally attaching yourself to the results that other people have. I almost quit network marketing because I got to the point where I could enroll several people, and I did. I enrolled several people, but most of them never did anything. And I took it upon myself as if it was my fault. They didn't do something. They didn't do anything. And what I finally had to realize is we're all in control of our own destiny. See, you can't force someone to want more for themselves than they do. You can't force desire. You can't force people to stay in. You can't force people to go to work. This is a volunteer army. You're going to have people who quit on you, and it's going to hurt you emotionally until you can disassociate the emotion. You've got to get to the point where you are rock solid no matter what happens. Otherwise, it takes you out of the game. So what's it going to take for you to win in network marketing? Number one, you're going to have to be willing to accept a temporary loss of social esteem from ignorant people. You're going to have to get rid of any emotional attachment to someone saying no to your opportunity. You got to remember this quote forever. Fear is temporary, regret is forever. You're going to have to get over the fear that you have about what other people think about you. You've got to decide to be a network marketing professional. So you can't be an amateur and get to the top. You got to go pro. You've got to look at this like any other honorable profession in the world. You know, to be a doctor, you've got to go to 8-10 years of school. To be a lawyer, you're looking at around 7 years of education. You know, and people look at those professions as amazingly honorable, but what they don't realize is that with network marketing, you don't need 8 or 10 years. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars invested, and you can make way more money than any doctor, way more money than any lawyer, but better than that, you've got the time to go out and see the world. You've got the time to go enjoy your wealth, and in my opinion, wealth is not just having money. Wealth is having the money and the time to enjoy it. Now, another thing, to grow your income in network marketing, you're going to have to grow yourself. See, the law of the lid, I've mentioned before, but the law of the lid is always in effect. Your income will never grow beyond who you are as a person. If you want to get out of a plateau, if you feel stuck, grow yourself. You've got to work on yourself initially as hard as you work on the business. Next, you want to create a BHAG. A BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. This goes back to creating your core life purpose. You know, what is that core life purpose for you? Why were you put on the earth? What is it that you want to go out and achieve? Create a big, massive goal. Give yourself something that you're willing to run through a brick wall to make a reality. And then the final thing is just never, never, never quitting. The only way for you to really fail in network marketing is for you to give up, for you to quit. As long as you are continuing to take action, as long as you're educating people, as long as you're really staying in the game, you can win. And you've got to have the mindset that no matter what it takes, you will win. With that, my friends, I'll see you on the next module.